Hi everyone, this is Watts of Faith here, episode 2 of our Bible study series. Today we're talking about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, reading from the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verses 36 to 46. The title of this message is Trusting God in Your Deepest Hour. Not my will, but your will be done. Have you ever been in a moment where you felt completely alone? The weight of the world was on your shoulders. Whatever you were going through, you felt like you were never going to get through it. I've been there before. And in times like these, I've realized that there's someone that you can always call to, and that someone is God. You can turn to God just like Jesus did in his darkest moment. Today in the story, we're going to talk about how Jesus was in his darkest moment. He went to this garden to pray to God because he truly was in distress. He was in anguish. He knew what was coming, but could do nothing about it. So let's go to the Bible and let's read about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane and talk about Jesus in one of his darkest hours of his life. Then Jesus went with them to the olive grove called Gethsemane, and he said, "Sit here while I go over there to pray." He took Peter and Zebedee's 2 sons, James and John, and he became anguished and distressed. He told them, "My soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." He went on a little further and bowed with his face to the ground, praying, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine." Then he returned to the disciples and found them asleep. He said to Peter, "Couldn't you watch with me even 1 hour? Keep watch and pray so that you will not give in to temptation, for the spirit is willing, but the body is weak." Then Jesus left them a second time and prayed, "My Father, if this cup cannot be taken away unless I drink it, your will be done." When he returned to them again, he found them sleeping, for they couldn't keep their eyes open. So he went to pray a third time, saying the same things again. Then he came to the disciples and said, "Go ahead and sleep, have your rest, but look, the time has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Up, let's go, let's be going. Look, my betrayer is here." So here we have Jesus in his darkest hour. He's distressed, he's anguished, he's feeling all the pain and suffering of humans just like we do. In his time of need, he goes to pray. He has some of his closest disciples with him. And just as he's going through this darkest time, his friends, his disciples keep sleeping on him. They keep falling asleep. They're not watching over him. They're not praying for him. They're not doing the things that he asked them to do. This is kind of a reminder to me that there's going to be times in our lives that our friends aren't going to fully understand what we're going through. They're not going to be able to be there for you in the ways that you want them to. But it's a reminder that you can always call on God and he will always be there for you. And when you call on him and you admit that you're weak, those are the times where he can really be strong for you. I think of times in my life where I was going through a really dark period. Really when I was in Kansas City, I was freshly going through my divorce and I was really alone in that time. I wanted my friends to be able to reach out to me and comfort me and, pick up a phone and just call me and ask how I was doing, but that wasn't necessarily the case. I think for too long I've held my friends as idols. I've kind of relied on when I've been going through dark times or I had a bad day or someone was mean to me. I think I would always run to friends. I would always call on them and maybe ask for advice or ask them to comfort me or try and get women to comfort me or any sort of a thing. But really what God wants is for us to call on him. In my darkest moment in my life, I know that I was able to call on God and he was there for me every single time, every step of the way. Even when I didn't see him, he was still there. And that's what God can do for you. In Luke 22:44, it says that he was in such distress that he sweat drops of blood, which is a real medical condition caused by extreme stress. Even in his pain, he still surrenders to his Father's will. Then an angel from heaven appeared and strengthened him. It's that verse 43, then an angel from heaven appeared and strengthened him. There's been specific moments in my life where I know that God has strengthened me. And I don't know if that was him sending an angel, him himself reaching down and just picking me up. I don't really know what that is, but There's been times where I was playing a football game high on drugs and I know I should have died, but somehow I was able to make it through that game. There's been a time where I was sticking a needle in my arm and I thought I should have fallen over, but somehow my arms were stretched out and placed on the wall, and somehow I was able to keep upright until my spell passed. Luckily, I didn't fall over, hit my head, and just die right there in that moment. There's been times in my life where I know that without the grace of God, like, I would not be here. I would not be able to share these stories to you, be able to give my testimony about how great God is and how good he has been in my life and how much of a fool I have been not to listen to him. You know, we all face Gethsemane moments. We all face times where we're going to be heartbroken, we're going to be distressed. There's going to be times of uncertainty. But what we know that we can do and we know we can rely on and who we can rely on is God. In those moments, you have to remember to pray, surrender to God, surrender, ask for his will to be done and not yours. He understands our pain because he walked through it. When you feel alone, Jesus can really understand what you're going through because he went through it himself. Jesus is always there. He's already been there, and he's going to continue to be there for you. Whatever you're going through, just always remember that God is in control. The question is, will you trust him today?